All right, guys, welcome to another episode of This Ain't a Pod, just chatting shit with my mates. I've got a very special guest today, Rhys Henry. Tell us about yourself.
So I'm a luxury property specialist covering Southeast London and Kent. I also dabble overseas in Dubai in terms of investment opportunities, off-plan opportunities out there as well.
Nice, man. So, Rhys and I met a few weeks ago, actually, at a client appreciation event. And from the get go, he made such a great impression. And I guess from the chat that we had and the impression he made, I thought, you know what? Why not get this exact same experience that I had to all of you guys? And Rhys actually comes from a similar background to myself, and he's going to be touching upon that. So tell us about your story, man. How did you get into luxury real estate?
So I come from a real estate background, but before that, I actually did field sales. So standing on the street, bothering people, asking them to sign up to or donate to charities. So I did British Red Cross for a time, Amnesty International, which isn't far from here, the actual office itself. So and then I went into teaching people how to actually stand in the street and stop people and get them to donate. And then from there, got to a point where I thought, it'd be nice to do something where I'm not standing out in the rain. There's a bit more appreciation because effectively when you're selling a charity, you're selling the idea of something rather than selling something physical. And I realized that if I could sell something or sell the idea of something, I can use those transferable skills into real estate, which I always had a passion for and interest in. And then I started as a high street agent, worked my way through the ranks, became franchise partner, got to a point where I realized that I was making my boss at the time quite a lot of money. And that money should have really been going in my pocket. But that's when I thought, it's time to go self-employed, and been working in the luxury end for the last 2.5 years now.
Cool, man. 100%. So with regards to yourself, you did the field sales. You went through the trenches, really. I think it's so funny because whenever I go to some of these networking events or whenever I pay for any sort of masterminds, the amount of people that I meet that have done well during or after their experience in field sales. What do you think it is? How do you think, I guess, the field sales like set you up for real estate?
It helps you build so much resilience. You also have to objection handle a lot of the time. It's pretty much made up on that. So you're going to a different area every day. You're dealing with different people, different weathers, and you have to be able to handle whatever objection it is, whether it's a no thank you, whether it's I'm not sure, whether it's it doesn't matter, whatever it may be. You've got to overcome the objection in a very short space of time. You're effectively changing someone's mind of I'm not going to donate to something to I'm going to donate to something within seconds.
Of course.
Transferring those skills into someone that's already interested in a product, it's a lot easier, put it that way. They're already interested in what you've got, so the supply is there, and then you're just demanding them to put forward the right offer as such.
So what, like, obviously I think you're right, field sales teaches you how to be quick on your feet.
Definitely.
It makes you, it puts you in situations where sometimes you're like, okay, like I don't know how to respond to the situation, or this person's going through this certain scenario, blah blah. How can I overcome that and objection handle? And I guess in real estate, what kind of objection handles do that?
All sorts, really. Anything from on the lower end of the market, someone saying I don't want to spend this much money, to the higher end of the market where someone's saying I don't want to pay this amount of stamp duty. A lot of it is to do with the initial stages of negotiations, but then it does come right back to when you're actually talking to the seller initially, and you're convincing them to use your services over another agent. So I think that's where it kind of stems from that point, convincing that person you're the right person to sell with. And then from there, the negotiations don't really stop until you hand over the keys.
Of course. And with regards to, I guess, just a little bit of a deep dive with you. So what were you doing before sales?
Funny enough, that's a very good question. I actually wanted to be a teacher at one point. Funny enough. So I had an interest in, just teaching people what I knew. So I was a TA for a time in my old primary school, but I've been in sales such a long time. It's hard. That's why it's a good question, because it's hard to even remember what I did before I did sales. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I've always really been in sales for, I think, coming up to about 18 years now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
haven't really known anything different than
Crazy, man.
selling.
Yeah, yeah. Well, how old were you when you started in field sales then?
16.
You're 16 years old.
16, yeah.
Crazy,
Yeah,
man.
I've been doing it a long
Straight
time.
straight into fundraising, or were you doing?
Yeah, pretty much. I actually had a friend that was, he said to me that you'd be good at fundraising, and I thought, nah, man, I can't stand on the street and stop people and
Yeah.
get people to sign up to charities. How do you even do that? And then when I went and did it, I actually flourished quite a lot. I was actually one of the best fundraiser in the company for a time as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been in sales a long time.
Wow. Okay. And then you went into real estate.
Yes.
And then, and now obviously you're self-employed and you're selling luxury real estate.
That's it.
It's funny, man. The way that I've always looked at sales is, if you can sell one thing, you can sell anything.
100%.
If you're a top performer and you're what we call like a high roller,
Mm-hmm.
you can move that into any product, because at the end of the day, the people are the same.
Yeah, definitely.
Customers are either yeses or nos,
Mhm.
and it's just by understanding how to switch their mindset to go from A to B.
Definitely. Just navigating it. That's all it is.
Exactly. And you've been in different environments now, right? So you've
course.
done the field sales, you did fundraising, you did obviously you were working in an estate agent, and then now obviously you're self-employed.
Yeah.
What do you think are the key differences that you've seen in these environments that allow people to perform at a high level?
I mean, it's really about the individual and how much they want to grow as a person, because I could have easily stayed in fundraising. I just wanted to do something more with my skills.
Yeah.
I wanted to transfer them in a way that made sense to me.
Yeah.
It's the same with people that are in high street. A lot of people are very comfortable being a high street agent. They don't feel like they need to progress any further. They're happy with the money they make. But with myself, I thought, I've seen a lot of houses I've sold. I've offered a great service time and time again. Why is it that I'm handing over a lot of my money to somebody else to do what I can do for myself anyway?
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, it's really about how far you want to take it, how many how long you want to be in the game for as well, because I've got an exit plan, if I'm honest, as well. But equally, I want to learn as much as I can on the way.
Yeah, sure. And where do you think you've developed that sort of mentality from?
I think I've said this a few times, but being from Southeast London, you've got natural resilience. Living in an area that I grew up in, like Woolwich, there's not as many people that kind of flourish from that area, and the people that do, they normally go on to do kind of bigger and better things. So I think with that, I've had a really good upbringing. I've got my mum still there, my dad's still there, thank God. And again, just kind of picking the right people to be around as well, because there was different paths that I was given the choice to go down, and I just decided that's not the path for me. I don't want to necessarily work with that person or hang around with that person, and that's what's kept me on a straight and narrow.
100%, man. And again, just talking about the environments, so there's good examples and bad examples in every environment you go into.
Definitely.
Okay. Even the environments that seem like they're about to, or that are already generating results, right? Like, again, I'm similar to you. I've worked in loads of different environments, different types of offices. And in field sales, you saw some guys that were killing it and were great examples to copy. But you also saw some examples in field sales that are like, oh, you're doing all right, but like your actions outside of the actual working environment is not something that I want to emulate.
100%.
And it's similar to, I'm sure, when you first started going into property, into real estate, some of these people that you were probably spending time with, some of them were making good money, but again, making some terrible choices outside of,
most definitely.
And even now, like you're self-employed, I'm sure you're like part of a big community of people. Again, it's vice versa. How do you navigate around that, and how do you stay locked in towards making the right decisions?
Do you know, It's really about finding like-minded people. I like working with people that I feel like I've got a natural connection with. It's strange that you asked that, because I felt that way when we met as well. When we went to this event that was hosted by a mutual friend of ours, Io. I felt like there was certain people I wanted to connect with, and I felt a genuine connection with. I kind of take that into my day to day. It's the same with my sellers, the same
Yeah.
with my friends. If I feel like we connect on a deeper level and we've got stuff to discuss, and we can build together,
Yeah.
and we've got a similar kind of moral compass, then you're someone that I can, hang around with, maybe go out for something to eat with,
Yeah. Yeah.
etc.
Of course.
But I mean, there's other people that I see, again, just kind of choosing the wrong paths,
Yeah.
maybe not hanging around with the people they should be. And I think I've after seeing it time and time again of people making bad decisions,
Yeah.
it's made me more vigilant on who I decide to hang around with, and I'm a bit more cautious with my friendship circle and my business circle as well.
Definitely. 100%. It actually reminds me, when I first started in sales,
Mm.
I had a business mentor,
Okay.
and I'd seen this guy have a ton of success in business and sales.
Yeah.
And I used to ask him, I was like, how do you know who's going to do well in this sort of
Mm.
business? And he was like, if I can look someone in the eye and they can look at me in the eye,
Yeah.
okay, and tell me
Mm.
not things that I want to hear,
Yeah.
but things that I know they genuinely feel like they are, like, that's holding them back,
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
things they want to do in the future. If I can genuinely look to that person in the eye, he was like, I know that's the right person to hang out with.
100%.
And I've taken that throughout my whole life, you know, whether it's friends, whether it's relationships, whether it's business, everything comes down to just whether you can trust someone,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And also, do their actions match what they say they're going to do?
Definitely. I think also from field sales, because you get to a point where you start to realize who will be your target audience anyway after a period of time.
Yeah.
So I remember there was a time where I'd been doing it for at least good 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And you'd have people that say no, thank you, and try to walk on the sidelines, or
Yeah.
not try to talk to you. And I already knew they weren't the person anyway.
Yeah.
So I'd literally be sifting through people like, all right, that's the person there.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like they knew they were the person as well, because they'd laugh or they'd smirk.
Yeah.
But no, come, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
So I think, again, I've transferred those skills into kind of day to day, and it's nice to have trust in people.
Yeah.
Equally, not everyone can be trusted, which is a shame, but it's just the way the world works.
How do you know, I know exactly what you're talking about, though. I always say to our sales guys, the best person, okay, in sales is the person that knows how to spend time with the right people.
Correct.
How do you move that from the experience that you learned in field sales to like real estate? Like how do you know the right prospects?
That's a very good question.
Do you not think that, like, is not everyone the right prospect for real estate? Or
Yes and no. I mean, it's really about how you guys build together.
Okay.
Because with real estate in particular, there's so many things that happen in the length of the process.
That's the full sales cycle.
Yes, correct. So for starters, it starts with the canvassing. So you'll go out, you'll knock on somebody's door, and the way that they treat you in the first instance is kind of the starting point from that trust. So if I feel like I can get on with that person straight away, and then we have a conversation afterwards and we feel like we're getting on mutually, it makes it so much easier for the rest of the transaction.
Yeah.
Because I've said this to a couple of people that have asked this question before. When you look at my testimonies and my sellers and my buyers, they all look the same, which is strange. And they all talk the same because they've all got a level of empathy. They've got an understanding. We've got trust. We've got a relationship where I could honestly call any of them now and say, would you like to go out for something to eat or something to drink? And it wouldn't be awkward. So it's like you're building a friendship within them, as well as a business relationship. So after a period of time of doing it and getting used to who's the right and the wrong person, it kind of, they kind of just slot in. It doesn't feel like it's forced.
Yeah, sure.
If I feel like I'm having to force somebody to work with me, they aren't my natural person, because I wouldn't want someone to do the same and vice versa. So that's kind of how I navigate that.
And I guess that all comes down to just going out there to actually serve people.
Yeah.
Like, you're going out there to serve the sellers. They want to sell the property.
Yeah.
They just want to work with someone that's actually going to be on their side.
Of course.
Like, people want to buy property.
Yeah.
But they want to make sure they're getting a good deal.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're just the bond in between, just
Definitely.
to make sure that the whole process is smooth.
Mm.
No one ever feels left short,
Yeah.
and it's a good deal for everyone
Definitely.
involved.
Another thing to factor in as well into that thinking is that not everybody wants to work with you. Some people want to take the conventional, traditional route of using a high street agent,
Yeah,
someone that's
sure.
been on the high street for 10, 80,
Yeah.
50 years. Not everybody wants to work with self-employed agents,
Yeah.
but it's the people that have got a bit of an understanding or
Yeah.
empathy in that field, and most of the sellers I work with that are in that industry, they've come from a similar background.
Yeah,
So they've been self-employed themselves. They had to start from ground zero and work their way through the ranks, and they're very humble people. Every person I've sold a house for, whether it's 1 million, 2 million, 2.5, whatever it may be, they're all very humble people. That you
because
wouldn't,
they get it.
yeah,
They
because
can
they
relate.
understand it. They know that there's a process to becoming a millionaire or a billionaire, or whatever their case may be. So those are the people I get on with the best.
Exactly. You can connect with them not just in a transactional
Yeah.
relationship, but in a way where they get where you're at right now.
Definitely.
They can probably see themselves in the same situation as you,
yeah.
whether they're like phase 10 right now and you're like phase 5.
Yeah.
Like they get the journey.
Definitely. And then they'll give you advice as well, which is great, because them being humble and being in a position where they want to share the knowledge, which is just as important as the transactional side, where it's, the money's involved. They will teach you things that you didn't know even about yourself, or even about the process that you're about to go through, the things that the steps you're about to go through, which is great to kind of witness someone that's been on the other side and you're at the beginning stage. So
100%. Awesome, man. And just to go back to what you were talking about, there's going to be some people that might not want to work for you.
Yeah.
And the mentality that you learn, I guess, in field sales is not everyone, like some will, some won't. So what, next customer?
Yeah.
How moving it into like a bigger, higher ticket, there's more time, like there's more investment of time and effort to get someone across the full sales cycle. And I'm sure you've had it before where someone showed massive interest, massive interest, and then you get to like the last part of the sales cycle and they might just duck away or they reject it or something doesn't fall through. How do you handle
it? Meditation. Just trying to keep yourself as calm and composed as possible, because that's again relates to one of my first sales actually. So the first sale I did as a self-employed agent, everything seemed like it was going smoothly, but because they were a cash buyer and they had no emotional attachment to the house and it was a second home for them, they actually pulled out the week before exchange of contracts. Now I'd been waiting nearly 5 months to get paid as it was, because none of them decided to use good solicitors, annoyingly enough. But when it got to the point where it looked like it was going to happen, the date was set for exchange, the buyer out of nowhere just changed their mind.
And that was your first deal?
My first deal. So I actually didn't get paid my first pay bracket, or my first paycheck, sorry, until 8 months, because I had to resell that first house again. In the behind the scenes, I had other properties that were going through, but they were at a later stage than the earlier one. So but I had to
So that's really, 8 months.
8 months without getting nothing.
How did you live, bro?
You know what? In between, I've even put this out there. I was doing, I was working for Amazon at the same time. So I was delivering parcels, and then at the same time, I was still doing real estate.
Wow.
So I went from, putting a parcel outside somebody's house, leaving a note or whatever it was,
to making it like
I had
work
to,
together.
because the mortgage still needed to be paid, kids still needed to be fed. Bills still needed to be paid on time. So I needed.
But you had the dream, and you knew the idea.
So I already had a plan for this before I jumped into self-employed world, because I knew that until I got my first paycheck and the commission came in, I wasn't going to get paid anything at all. So it was a massive gamble, but at the same time, I wasn't willing to gamble my credit score and my bills not being paid on time.
You got responsibilities.
Of course, I wasn't going to risk that. So that's how I managed to manage that. But back to your question, I had to stay really calm in that situation, because it was like I really wanted to pull my hair out. I wanted to, do things to the buyer. I won't say on camera, but I was really annoyed with the fact that he just decided it's not for me. And me stepping away, realizing that, okay, this does occur in real estate in the UK. There is times where buyers or sellers change their mind. It does happen. I know this happens. now what can I do to come up with a solution for
Yeah.
this problem that's now occurred? And this is also something I've been trying to navigate myself and doing. I'm actually creating a solution for this
Yeah.
because a lot of the time in the UK, there's no deposit, there's no reservation fee. So I'm actually creating a system where that's going to be the done thing. So sellers have the assurance of knowing, right, my buyer has paid X amount, so that if they change their mind, I'm
There's
still
no
getting
way back.
something. Exactly. And similar on their side, they put down a little bit of a commitment because weirdly enough, with new builds, they have to pay a deposit, they have to pay a reservation fee. But when you buy any normal house, they would call it outside of that, there's no commitment that's put down, which I find quite strange because on the rental side of things, they make you go through, you know, credit checks. They make you pay deposits, 5 weeks deposit, first month's rent. They do a lot more research on that individual to make sure that they're going to get their rent qualified, and they're qualified. Whereas with sales, you pretty much can say to an estate agent, I want to buy this house. And some estate agents don't even do affordability checks. They just say, okay, that's fine. And then they take the property off the market.
That's
and then there's no commitment.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
crazy.
That is crazy, man. So just going back to obviously what we said there. So you didn't do your first sale, okay, until So just going back to that first part. So you didn't
Just on
just put it on. Hold on. There you go.
Cool.
Yeah. So just going back to that first. Just go back in time. So you didn't do your first sale until 8 months, and you mentally prepared yourself for that situation.
Correct.
You said you've got kids, you've got bills to pay. You didn't want to affect any of your lifestyle. Like, how hard were you working, man?
Like really hard. Like getting home.
There was a doubt there. It was like
really hard. Like weren't getting home to like 10, 11 certain days because, as I mentioned, I was going from delivering a parcel. Or the parcels, should I say, to dropping the van back at the depot, to quickly getting changed into a suit or shirt and trousers, shoes, then going to somebody's house, valuing the house, and then going home and having something to eat.
Yeah, sure, man.
So it was just non-stop for like a good year, all in all.
Sure.
Till it got to a point where I was at the verge of burnout, basically. And I was like, this is very difficult to do the two, but it was what had to be done at the time. Equally as well, I'm not going to disregard it. My partner also knew that I was going through this transition period as well, so she was very supportive at this time. So she was still working in between, so we basically went broke together to make this work and invested in ourselves for our future selves as such.
And that's what I was going to ask, because you did field sales, right? You were leading and teaching a team. And some of these guys, they are on commission only, maybe.
Yes.
Okay. Or some of these guys get a day rate and they have life problems.
Yes.
Which is, I'm not making enough money, or like you weren't making money for like 8 months, bro. You and your partner were bought into this vision. Okay. That this is going to be tough for the next 12 months, maybe 24 months.
Of course.
But this is the goal at the end of it. Like, I guess it's 2 questions. Number one was, how did you have that belief in yourself, okay, to get to that point where you're like, I'm going to act on this? And number 2, how did you get the belief from everyone around you to be, I guess, an integral part and be part of the vision to get there?
Self-belief comes within. I mean, I genuinely believe you have to have something inside of you that makes you think, I can do this, to have that consistent push to wake up every day to carry on to do it. My partner's always believed in myself, I've always believed in her, so that we've always had that natural kind of connection. We've been with each other for about 10 years this October, so I had to believe in myself. I had to keep pushing. I've been in field sales and sold a product that doesn't exist. I'm selling the idea of someone donating towards a cause. No one's actually getting anything in return other than knowing they're doing something for somebody else. So from the time I realized that I could do that and I can sell, and I have been selling consistently for years, I thought there's no way that I'm not going to be able to do real estate. So I'd already mentally prepared myself to know that the first year and a half, it was about the knowledge. It was about learning as much as I possibly could about the industry, and then using that knowledge to better my position.
Yeah.
And then people around me, I'd already pre-warned them that this is what I was planning to do for the
Yeah.
next year and a half. So I was gonna basically disappear for a little
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna be going out, going to clubs or wherever not. And
Yeah.
we had to sacrifice a lot because we basically had to be at home, spending very little and only spending on the essential stuff. But the circle of friends that we have understood that because they were going through similar journeys where
Yeah.
they were trying to build their businesses. So we basically did it at the same time. And then now we're at a point where it's nice. We can now go out to nice places,
Yeah.
go out to nice restaurants, whatever not. And we can look back at these moments and think, oh, do you remember that time where, I couldn't even afford to come to your house because I only had enough petrol to get to my next appointment or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So it is tough, but it's about the people that can go through that and then come out on the other side. Those are the people that usually do the best because they understand that it's a process and no one's got to the position of wealth without having to go through these steps as well.
And that's the thing, man. I think because we live in a society, in a world where social media is just wild.
Yeah, it is.
The perception that people have to get to, I don't know, like a successful position where they're living like carefree.
Yeah.
It's just so unrealistic.
It is.
Because for anyone that I've spoken to, for anyone that I know that has got to a certain situation, they've had to put in work, man.
100%.
Unless they honestly like got it from, I don't know, their parents, whatever it is. Like the type of lifestyle that most people want, you have to go through the trenches.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, with even with that situation, I watched something the other day, and I'm going to give it a plug because it has played a massive part in my day to day. Generational wealth is only good for a certain period of time. So even though that person may be doing well because it was handed over to them by their parents and their parents before, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to teach their kids and their kids to maintain that and preserve the money that they've actually built. So by the next generation, they could end up losing everything. Whereas what me and my partner have done is we've already preserved our money and preserved things in place so that our kids have to go through the motions, but at the same time, they have got things set up for them like bonds, trust, wills, etc. So that they don't suffer in the same way that we would have suffered if we didn't weren't switched on. So what I'm going to plug is on YouTube there's a company called Alux. Don't know if you've ever seen it. And what they do is they basically take things from millionaires and billionaires and they put it into like a 15-minute video. So they do things like 10 things that rich people do that poor people wouldn't do. 10 ways that Steve Jobs built his wealth, and they break it right down. And I've been watching Alux since COVID because I had nothing to do. Because I was furloughed from doing real estate. I couldn't do viewings. I had to do viewings virtually, which is the weirdest thing I've ever had to do. But in the interim, I was learning stuff and trying to work out what I could do to kind of better my knowledge. And then I stumbled across this channel, and it wasn't like your traditional someone on a computer saying sign up to this course. It was basically you can learn this, and we also have an app, but this is a good way for you to teach self-teach yourself, and you can pick up bits and pieces. And the amount of things I picked up from this and then applied it to my own life and thought, actually, you know what, this has actually benefited me quite well. So if anyone wants a way of kind of having a little bit of advice but not feeling like they're having to buy into some sort of course, that is it's free on, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's called Alux, ALUX, and it's been a really good way for me to realize, okay, I've got money now, what do I do with that money? Where do I invest it? What can I do with it next? How can I preserve it? So
how do you plan to teach your children the lessons that you've learned, where they go through a difficult stage in their life and still provide that comfort and security? What's your plan behind that?
So with my youngest, they will my oldest has already been through a transition period already because he's the only one out of my 3 kids that has seen me and my partner go through the transition.
Wow.
So
Okay.
he saw us living in Plumstead
Yeah.
Village and having zero money, having nothing, and having to save and build and whatnot. And then he's seen us go from that to then buying properties to furthering our careers, etc. Whereas my youngest two, they will still be in that area. We basically have a very good setup on our childcare, so they will still have to go through the period of time where they'll have to learn and they'll have to be around other kids that could pose it as a distraction.
Yeah.
What I didn't want to do, and what me and my partner didn't want to do, is put our kids into private schools. We wanted them to actually learn that, okay, you're from this area, but you can build and still have the knowledge to further progress yourself by you realizing your skill sets.
Yeah.
So what I've done with my kids in particular is I know that they individually have their own skill sets.
Yeah.
I mean, my youngest is so young, she won't have anything yet. She's only 6 months, so
Yeah.
give her a bit of time.
Yeah.
But my second eldest is he's very much into cars.
Yeah.
So we've started putting him in places like, okay, we'll take him to Monaco, to Formula One. We'll take him to car shows and stuff like that, because I know we're not sure what it is yet because he's still only 4.
Yeah.
But there's going to be something around cars because we know he loves cars a lot.
Yeah,
And
sure.
then my eldest is very
Just complement their strengths.
complement their strengths. Whereas, I mean, I wouldn't want to force something that I like to do, for example, music or even media, onto my kids. I want them to do what they're passionate about.
Sure.
So my eldest, he loves football a lot. Knows the stats, knows everything about every football player and every game, etc. So, and he's also very much into podcasts. So funnily enough, we've got a setup that we're going to do for him very soon, where him and a friend of mine actually just sit down like we are and discuss.
Bro, that would be sick.
Yeah, it's
that's unreal. Because imagine listening to, how old is your kid? How's your
He's 13.
13. Okay, just a 13-year-old guy, super techie with regards to football.
He knows a lot. I mean, he can. I've seen him debate about games that are. I mean, I used to love football. I'm not as into it anymore. But what happened was him and my friend were sat in the car and they started debating, and it was hilarious. It was so funny, just naturally, and they weren't trying to be funny. And I was like, you know what, this needs to be
out there.
This needs to be publicized. So literally within the next kind of 3 to 4 weeks, I've got a station for us to use, and then both of them will just sit down. I'll be in charge of like the media side of things. So long story short, I'm gonna hone in on their skills. I'm gonna make sure that they understand that they, even though mum and dad's got money, and we're in a good position and we're both building our careers, they've still got to work for what they earn. They don't get things for free. No one gets any handouts. My eldest still has to do chores. So does my youngest now, and obviously my baby, but my second youngest is still
6 months
wash up the dishes. But yeah, he still knows he's got to put his toys away. He still needs to make his bed, brush his teeth in the morning and in the evening. It's all little things that, we don't want them to feel like they are entitled to get this stuff just because they are in a position where it's a lot easier now than what it was a few years ago.
No, definitely. Man, I wish you were my dad. Nah, I think it is important. Values and getting people to understand that you have to work for things, man. It's just like, I mean, I know we live in a world where the hustle culture is there, and a lot of people promote it. And again, it depends on the quality of life that you want to live, but you don't understand. So people need to have like a bit of a reality check of what it takes to get somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's very important to teach that when someone's young, But yeah, so what's the steps for you now then? You said you had like an exit plan. What's the goal?
Yeah, so I love real estate a lot. It's just, unfortunately, I don't think at any time soon the UK will change the transactional process.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something and put something in place where it will be easier for people to purchase, but the return on investment in the UK is very slow.
Yeah.
Even if you are buy to let, rent to rent, I mean, there is loads of different ways to make money in real estate. I won't fault that at all. However, what I've come to realize is that real estate here in the UK is quite limited. especially for how much you can expand your money because of, the elephant in the room being the tax man.
Mm.
He comes along, you'll make a lot of money, and then all of a sudden you're paying out on VAT, you're paying out on your yearly tax,
Yeah.
etc. So there's never really a way around it. So I am going to be navigating more in Dubai. I've got a really good friend of mine that I'm going to be working with, and I've got some investment ideas. I'm also going to be my partner's setting up her business, so I'm putting a lot of money into that. That's a
Yeah.
lot more of a lucrative industry, I believe.
Yeah, sure.
But they're trying to make it a lot more reserved for certain people that have got the right qualifications. So she's in the aesthetics industry, but
Yeah.
if put it this way, when I put money into her industry, the money comes back a lot quicker than it comes back in real estate. So I mean, I'm gonna test things out for the next kind of few years. I've been
Sure.
in real estate about 8 years now, so I'm gonna see how things go by year 10. If I still really enjoy it and I've managed to find a way to kind of crack the code to a certain extent,
Yeah.
I might stay on for an additional kind of 5-6 years from there, but I'm really going to assess the damage. What I'm basically trying to do is create a seamless way and a more of an easy way for
Risk
buyers.
adverse way.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what my sellers and buyers have had issues with for years.
Yeah.
The time it takes, the fact there's no commitment, and also the help buying onward process. So I'm
Yeah.
going to be involved in all three. Those are going to be my main pillars. I'm basically going to apply what I've been doing for the last 2.5 years in self-employed to myself, and make sure that my clients get an exclusive personal service. And if that works out for the better, where I end up getting them moved quicker, which in
Sure.
turn gets me paid quicker, then I probably would consider staying in real estate longer. And then additional to that, I won't completely step away from real estate as a whole.
Mm.
But one thing I am considering doing is the mentorship side of things.
Yeah, sure.
Because I get asked on TikTok, LinkedIn, and Instagram at least every day or every other day,
How do you get into it?
how did you get into it? How long you've been doing it for? How
Yeah.
do I become an estate agent?
Yeah.
Do you do a mentorship? Do you do apprenticeships?
Yeah.
So I know there's a hunger for it. I know there's a market for
There's
it.
an
It's
appetite,
the
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So I would more than likely set up a course.
Yeah.
People would come to a course on a weekly
Mentorship
basis.
takes time.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. And you need to be, I want to feel like I'm dedicated to the cause.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it
You want to help people.
I don't want to do it just to take people's money.
Yeah.
I actually want to be able to put people in a good position where they can
Yeah.
learn, because what I don't feel that there is in the UK is a way for you to be self-employed, but for you to have that kind of one-on-one mentorship.
Yeah.
Because the difference between high street and self-employed is when you're a high street agent, you have a manager that sits with you. He'll make sure you're going through the process properly. You'll go out with him, you'll do role play, etc.
Yeah.
When you're self-employed, you're pretty much fed information and then told, right, if you want to make money, you
Yeah.
go and make money.
It's
then.
all on you.
Yeah, it's all on you, which is fine, which, you should be somewhat equipped for, because
Yeah.
that's the whole purpose of being self-employed.
Yeah.
But equally, it'd be nice if there was a bit more guidance, or
Yeah.
at least someone that could sit with you, even if it's like in a room, similar to what they do in fundraising.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't be a fundraiser without being tested in a room,
Yeah.
kind of similar to where we are
Yeah.
now.
In direct sales, that you
Yeah.
have to role play. with people.
100%. You got to role play before you even go out into the actual field itself,
Yeah.
because standing on the street can be a scary place
Yeah,
for a lot of people, even knocking on someone's door.
100%.
And someone that's not mentally equipped for it,
Yeah.
they start thinking, I can't do this, and then they start overthinking it.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't end up working out for them.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting, actually, just molding both together.
Mm.
Because the training is so extensive.
Yeah, definitely.
And equipping someone that has no experience, okay, that has just pure like hunger,
Yeah.
to be able to go out there and do cold outbound leads.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
literally just knocking on people's doors, stopping people on the street, going into a random business.
100%.
The training is extensive.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it does prep people so well to
Definitely.
be able to perform.
Mm.
But I always said this, imagine this type of training that we provide is the same in every industry.
Yeah.
And that is, if you can move that into the real estate world, I mean,
100%.
it's game over.
100%. I said for me, it's really about working with my clients first and foremost.
Being able to
I'll be
fulfill,
honest,
yeah.
I'm not really looking to build a company as
Yeah.
such, or a team as
Yeah,
such
yeah,
right
yeah.
now. For me, it's about me individually what I can offer my clients,
Yeah.
because they've been impressed with the service. I've guinea pigged it. It's worked really well, actually. And it's got me a lot of repeat business, because a seller will now go to somebody else that's thinking about selling. And then the person might think, oh man, but it takes like 6 months to
Yeah.
move. No, it took me 6 weeks. No, it took me 4 weeks. No, Rhys got a reservation fee. Oh, he helped me buy another property on. So it's taken
Start to
away that,
compound.
yeah, it's starting to take away that, uh, like people can be insecure about it, and they can
Yeah.
also be unsure.
Yeah.
And I want to take that 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 knowledge, the assurance they should have,
Yeah.
should be there.
Yeah.
But it's like other case studies and stories
Yeah.
have put people off even wanting to go ahead, and I want to kind of take that away.
And that's it, man. Like, people don't want to be the first to do something.
No, of course.
And people don't want to be the last.
People love to moan.
That's it. Yeah.
Love to moan. Like, I mean, I've been in this game a long time, and I've come across several different agents. They just moan, oh, the solicitors, they take so long. Oh, the chain is taking forever.
Yeah.
Well, then why not do something?
There's an opportunity there.
There's an opportunity there. There's clearly a window and a market for people that want to move quicker and pay for the convenience. I actually went out and said, I've got a little video coming out. It's about 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And I went out into the general public and just asked them, how long do you think it should take for people to move?
And people don't know.
Yeah, people don't know. People are like, oh, it should take a year.
Yeah.
Oh, it should take 6 months.
Yeah.
It's not. But then that's normalized. That's the problem. Everyone thinks that that's the norm.
Yeah.
So if people are now moving within 4-6 weeks, maybe even sooner, if I can get it done, then it will catch on to certain people, because it will be like a outer circle, and then it will spread like a domino effect.
Sure.
I mean, I don't expect to change the industry entirely, man. I'd love to be the person that changes the mindset of the government, where they decide, right, less paperwork, less papers, everyone moves in 2 weeks. But
the likelihood of that happening is gonna
do it. Because I even asked my solicitor, or the team I work with, Taylor Rose, when I did the podcast with him, and he basically said, look, there would have to be a lot of changes to regulations for it to be like the US or Canada. It's not going to change anytime soon. So
no, definitely. Okay, cool, man. I just want to close it off with a couple things, man.
Yeah,
so number one is a lot of my viewers are people in sales. Okay, so people that have either just started in sales, people that are in sales, like managing teams, or people that are looking to get into sales. So obviously you've done a couple of different sales cycles. You've done real estate, you've done field sales, and so on and so forth. What would be your biggest advice to those guys, either like thinking of starting or starting off? Like, what would you say to those guys?
If you're looking to get into real estate, that lane in particular, as in more direct sales, as in sales negotiator, that would be the title for it. I probably would advise to take the high street agent route first, especially if you've got no prior experience in real estate. Reason I say this is because there's just so much structure within the high street industry. I don't knock what high street agents do, even though I go to war with them pretty much every day, because I'll be honest, I take a lot of their properties. But the structure that they have in place is really effective for someone that doesn't know the industry at all. So it would help, even if you just did 6 months, a year. I mean, I think you can even do apprenticeships, or you can shadow people in high street. But it would help to get into that. You just need pretty much a driver's license and at least some sort of sales background. That will help you understand and learn first before you think about the earning potential. Because I think a lot of people try to skip over the learning. They try to go straight into, right, I want to earn 100,000, I want to earn 200, 300, whatever. I mean, this takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and knowing the right things to say and having the skill set. You won't learn that straight away. Unless you're some sort of magician that just has the knowledge.
Things up really fast.
So some sort of real estate experience, whether it's lettings or sales, I would say then you should be comfortable enough to go, right, let me be self-employed. But I would say it's not even a sacrifice. I think it's more of a, it's more profitable, and it's also more time effective if you go into high street first for a year and then transition into being self-employed afterwards.
You have to be, I guess, if you have zero knowledge about the industry, you have to be a great follower to become a great leader. And you have to know the ins and outs of what could potentially happen, which is completely risk adverse from your end.
Of course.
Because you're not self-employed.
Definitely.
Like if you're self-employed, everything is on you.
100%.
So whatever you lack is magnified times 100.
Definitely.
Because if you miss something out, you're the person that pays for
Yeah,
it.
100%.
But if you're not perfect, you're not that educated, you don't know what you're talking about yet, you've got someone that's willing to pay you for whilst you're learning. Why would you not take that?
100%. That's the way I look at it. Learning is key. Knowledge is power. I know it's like generic thing to say, but it's important to learn that side of things first. And then additional to that, if you want to go against the grain and you want to be that person that's like, you know what, I know he said go to higher street, but I think, you know, I'm way past that stage. I'm an excellent salesperson. I've been doing this in sales, that in sales, and you want to take the leap of faith. At least realize that you are gonna be broke for like a while. Like, forget about the money for a little while. Just worry about the knowledge that you're gonna get and pick up as much as you can in the process. And then once you've got the knowledge, then you can take the leap of faith to then start thinking, right, now I've got the knowledge. How can I then use this knowledge and use these skills to start making me the money and go forward from there? It's a listening game of real estate. You know, the more people you listen to, the more people you come into contact with, the smarter person it makes you. But you can't buy the experience, or you can't bypass the experience. So understand that you're going to have a mixture of the both in order to be earning the serious money. Because the way you have to look at it is, if you decide to take this risk without any prior knowledge, without understanding that it's knowledge first before the earning, you're going to be in a position where you don't earn anything, and you probably would have been better to just get a normal job, because by the time you actually earn anything, you could have just been in a normal 9 to 5, realistically.
Exactly. And that's, I don't think it's just in real estate, it's in everything.
Yeah, it is.
If you are looking to build a business and you are looking to, everyone's screaming, be an entrepreneur, get away from the 9 to 5 and so forth. It's just like, again, have that reality check. With high reward comes with high risk,
of course.
So you have to limit the amount of time that you are going to go broke for.
100%.
And the only way you do that is by understanding, okay, if I'm learning something brand new, let's learn it whilst getting paid for it.
100%.
And if I know everything about it, just understand there's still going to be problems along the journey.
Of course. That's another thing as well. Don't spend anything until the transaction is done.
Yeah.
Because real estate is the worst industry for that. I mean, everything can look like it's going through so smoothly. The buyer's on board, the seller's on board. Everything looks like, you know, you've got the date in mind where you think you're going to get paid, and you start, I don't know, spending the holidays, start going to designer shops, start spending money you haven't actually received yet. And then next minute, the transaction flips on its head. The buyer changes their mind, the seller then changes their mind. You've just gone from earning £12,000 potentially to earning £0, and you're back to square one. And then you've just spent all this money you don't actually have yet. So,
and there's more negative pressure on your back.
I mean, I think because I've done this myself as well, which is actually in one of my I've got a series coming out called You Don't Need Luck When You're Good. You should look out for it on my YouTube channel. Because I've bought and sold myself, I understand that the emotion has to be put to one side. I've never used an estate agent. I refuse to use an estate agent. If I'm honest, I always have bought and sold my own houses. I go directly with the seller or nothing at all. So I know that even when me and my partner bought our first place, and it seemed exciting. Like, I really wanted to get excited, but I had to keep it all in.
Don't believe the hype.
Don't believe the hype until we was at a position where we got the exchange of contract, and then we went out and celebrated, and then it felt real, because anything can happen between sale agreed and exchange of contracts. And so little people understand that until they've gone through it, or they've had a sale fall through, and then they have that pain in their chest where it's like, oh my gosh, like, where's all my money gone? But it's monopoly money until it becomes real.
True, exactly. And you can take that for anything, right? It's just like
100%.
Like when you sign on a new client and they pay you everything in advance to do the job, until the job is done. Do not spend the cash.
Exactly.
Does that make sense? Like, until the delivery is done, do not spend the cash.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely.
Cool, man. No, it's great to have you, man.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for your
Likewise, man.
time as
No
well.
worries at all, man.
Cool.
Good to come.
And I'm sure we'll see more of your content out there as
Yeah,
well.
definitely.
So I think you mentioned it a few times on the pod, but if any of my viewers are looking to find you, where can they find you?
So on Instagram, it's Rhys Henry _real estate. On LinkedIn, it's Rhys Henry. I have got a TikTok. I think it's Rhys Henry Real Estate as well. YouTube, it's Rhys Henry Real Estate. I've got a series coming out called You Don't Need Luck When You're Good. The first episode is out on the 30th of June.
That's a sick name.
Thank you.
That's a sick name.
Then I've also got a podcast coming out with my team, which is Taylor Rose. We're going to get yourself on the podcast as well for definite. And I've also got an advert coming out for my services. If you know anyone that obviously wants to sell, I do offer a 10% referral fee. So please get in contact and yeah, drop me a message if you need any advice or you know anyone that wants to sell here in the UK or even overseas.
Love that, bro. Cool, man. So that's it for today. Just to close it off, like always, today is the day to be your personal best. Let's turn these ideas into reality. Cool. That's it.
Cool, man.
Good job, bro.
No worries,
sick. Yeah, you got some bars, bro.